Same here, ma'am. So pleased to see you.
You people never seem to change at all. Anjali is just like that. Mahesh is looking like that. It's as if I just left a few days back. Interesting, isn't it? After a decade, more than a decade.
More than a decade, ma'am.
Yeah. It's good to see you people joining well in time.
In fact, we were waiting from a very long time and we were in touch with each other.
Okay.
That's the host allowed you and maybe I'm not being allowed. So this is what we were discussing.
Actually, ma'am, we logged in at 6:30. So we were waiting for the host to take us in.
Okay, well, right. Yeah. So all of you, are mentioned in the various parts of the book. Some with name, some without name, but all of you who are here right now, everybody is in the book.
Very nice.
Hello, Ranjani.
Hi, good evening, Seema. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good evening. And we were talking about you before we started.
Is it
How
so?
much Malayalam have you learned? I said nothing except the word seri.
Anyway, I'm sure you enjoyed your trip to Kerala.
Yeah, I did. It was wonderful. Yeah.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Shall we begin because it is live on
Yes.
YouTube now?
Yeah.
So hello everyone and welcome to the book launch cum discussion of Unlocking Leadership, the School Perspective. What makes a successful school leader? How do you become truly effective as a principal or in a leadership position? While there is no one solution to a successful leadership, there are certain strategies, skills, traits, beliefs that many of the most effective school leaders share. Perhaps the most important of all qualities that a school leader can possess is the unquenchable thirst for knowledge. And I quote John F. Kennedy here, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. I am Jissa Joy, coordinating editor at Konark Publishers, and I'm pleased to have you all here. Joining us today is an education, management, and leadership trainer with more than 35 years of experience in the education domain. She is deeply committed to adopting and implementing latest innovations in learning pedagogies, student-teacher development, novel educational pathways, and overall education system evolution. She has been instrumental in creating communication channels between colleagues, students, parent community, and wider education society that promotes a dynamic learning ecosystem. With India's new education policy in place, there's a need to learn how vital the role of school leadership is. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Seema Malik, the author of Unlocking Leadership, the School Perspective. Next is the anchor of this show. He wears several hats. He's a CEO, entertainer, author, actor, motivational speaker, RJ, coach, columnist, comedian, and advisor to the Indian Leadership Academy. He also curates customized workshops for children and adults on the success mindset. He appears on primetime channels as a panelist and is extremely vocal on matters of leadership, environment, politics, sports, and entertainment. Let's welcome Mr. Shekhar Vijayan.
Thank you so much, Isa, for that warm introduction. I think the attributes I mentioned are this and much more which you would need for this very interesting launch. Now, before I start, I also want to thank Mr. Nair, who's traveling right now at the moment. And in COVID times, we're traveling domestic, he's traveling internationally. So he sent his note out, which I want to read to all of you, which is very interesting. He says that education is a foundation of any progressive society. And I strongly believe that every contribution to this field, whether big or small, can make a huge difference. So it is with great pride that I present to you Unlocking Leadership, the School Perspective. I hope you've got your books with you. Yeah, I've got mine by Ms. Seema Malik, For a country that has made great advancements in the education sector, I was surprised to know that education leadership was not given much attention. It is still not part of the public discourses. With this book, we hope to bridge that gap, and I sincerely hope that there will be a wider debate on this topic. The idea of this book came up when Konark and Salwan Education Trust took an initiative to organize virtual discussions on select books related to education and society. This was during the initial pandemic period, and there was uncertainty on what the way ahead was for the education sector. The world as we knew, it was changing, and there was a need more than ever for strong and effective leadership in the education sector. Realizing the importance of this topic, Konark put this book on his priority list and we gave it our special attention and care. We fully understand the great impact that education can have on human minds and also how it contributes to society as a whole. I am happy that the book is finally out despite the difficult circumstances and is being released today. Education has been one of the major areas that Konark has had its focus on. Over the years, we've had the good fortune of associating ourselves with many stalwarts from the education sector. We published all the works of Dr. Amrit Singh, the doyen of Indian education. We've also published the works of Dr. Narendra Jadhav, who's also written the foreword of this book, which is very, very interesting if you get to read the book, that is. His is a life that is committed to education and social justice. Another eminent personality that we have published is Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, who's made significant contributions to the education sector. His book, Education of an Ambassador, chronicles the education reforms he instituted in the state of Kerala. Personally, also, this book is very important to me. Coming from a family of teachers, I am proud to be associated with Ms. Seema's work, and I've enjoyed the whole process. Even when our country is slowly getting back to the pre-pandemic days, we need to acknowledge the fact that certain things have been altered forever, and education is a sector that needs to be viewed through a new prism. We'll be able to take advantage of the opportunities that come knocking at our doors only if there's effective educational leadership. I hope this book is read by all those who are in the field of education and it succeeds in making a meaningful contribution to society. He says all the very best, and something which I also echo, Jai Hind. Thank you, everybody. Now, Jiza told me that, once this is over, everybody can raise the book so we can take a picture. If you have the book, please. If you don't have the book, please go and buy it. Or please pick it up. All right, everybody. If you have the book, please show your books. So we know we're in the right book launch. Thank you. All right. So before we start, I want all of you to please mute yourselves. We will call all of you one by one. Don't worry about it. We'll make sure everybody gets their say in. But the point is only I'm Seema ji and me will be unmuted because we'll be talking, and then we'll get all of you in one by one. That's the entire idea. And please ensure your mobiles are on silent mode. You can take as much pictures as you want, as many videos as you want, because we need all this and much more. But let's also make sure we have fun. The next 1 hour is going to be very interactive. We're going to have a very, very interactive discussion around the book, around why this book is important and what's so special about it. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to start. And
Shekhar, before you begin, we have a video.
Oh, you have a video also. We have a video too. Just to give all of you a flavor of the video is by a very, very nice student who's actually articulated his thoughts about what he likes about the book and about Seema ma'am. Please have a look.
Just one second.
Former student of Ms. Seema Malik. Allow me to connect the dots from 2019 by sharing an incident which changed my perspective towards education. I won an entrepreneurship fest against college students, and as a reward, Ms. Seema Malik, former principal, gifted me a biography of Steve Jobs with a personal note which read, "Good readers become great leaders." Since then, I have never quitted reading, and trust me, it has helped me in every aspect of my life. This is the kind of leadership one expects to be umbrellaed upon. Reading a few of my favorite lines. Compassion, fortitude, honesty, and integrity are qualities that charismatic leaders exhibit. Without substance, charisma can exist, but only for a short period of time. These leaders not only talk the talk, but also walk the walk. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very, very reassuring, very warm, and a very, very inspiring message. Boy, can we clap for him, everybody? Can we virtually clap for him? That is all right. So before we start, ma'am, I have to ask you this question. And this is from one of your favorite writers, Seema ji, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs had famously said, if you're working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. And the vision pulls you. Ma'am, I want you to tell me what actually pulled you in writing this book. And I also want Kshitij, Kshitij is also here, I think, your son, to also tell us a bit more about this. Kshitij, so once Seema ji speaks, then after that, you can chip in what you felt about ma'am writing the book.
Yeah, sure.
So the reason why I wrote this book was that for a long time, I'd been writing my experiences. And I was maintaining a journal, a daily journal. I was doing at least 1 hour of writing every day. So I thought that why not put it up all in the form of a book? And reading is something which comes very naturally to me. It's a passion, it's a hobby, sometimes a pastime, but it is something which has stayed with me forever. And it is not an exaggeration for me to say that out of the 58 years of my existence, I have definitely been reading for the last 50 years. Without fail, almost on a daily basis, I've been reading. And earlier, for leisure, stories and fiction and non-fiction and all that stuff. And lately, for the last almost a decade, I've been into a lot of academic writing. So research is something which really excites me. That is how this book started, by giving shape to all those wonderful researchers that I had compiled over a long time. And those brilliant writers, those brilliant researchers from across the world, from Canada and America to Australia, New Zealand and Europe and OECD and what have you. Everything. So everything was picked up from my various notes in various diaries and almanacs, and then put up together in the form of a book. That is how this book came up.
Thank you, ma'am. Ye hamari chalti to get your age. You also told us how old you are, but ma'am, that's on a lighter note. But ma'am, I've read the book, of course, and I think it's a very interesting book, and it's very, very important for everyone to understand what leadership is all about. Kshitij, I want your perspective on this.
Sure. So when my mom told me she was writing a book, I asked her what inspired you to, write one after all these years. And she told me that, what she just said, that she maintained a journal for many, many years. And she emphasized the point about reading and how useful it is, not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life. Also, the research that she had been doing for many, many years, first as a student, then she worked for many decades, and then when she pursued the higher education at Cambridge, and then also the PhD, and all those experiences put together. And it reminded me of what she had always told us, my sister and myself, about the importance of reading. And so even when we were kids, she was the one who started our interest in reading. As kids, it was, books like Enid Blyton. And then, we had a lot of science books from Time Life. And as we got older, in our teenage years, we had the upgraded teenage versions of those books, and they covered all types of topics like geography and space and automations and engineering. And I think all those things put together, they sparked my interest in pursuing what I ended up pursuing, which was engineering and then business management, which is what I'm doing now. So that was the habit that stuck with me all through school and all through college, and even now in my professional life. And I've been working for 7 years almost. So it all kind of came together, and I was talking to her, and I said, that's what kind of carried me all those years, that habit. And then that's the habit that you need, that if you want to perform well at work or even in your personal life, it helps to do some specific research. It helps to read up on interesting things for business, for engineering, for design, for automation, for business processes, for how business economics works. And I realized that was a lot to do with how she started us when we were young. So I'm very proud of her for writing this book, and just to see the whole journey come together very beautifully.
Thank you, Kshitij. Thank you so much. I think it's, I'm sure both of you make a great pair. And Kshitij, you must have known when your mom would have those days when, I don't know if that's a myth, but when I spoke to Sir Jeffrey Archer and I hosted his book launch, I asked him about this phenomena which all writers have, which is, I don't know what's the right word for it, but there are days when you don't want to write. But I think he said it's just BS, because ultimately when you want to write, you will write. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
Knowing Seema ji, I'm sure it would have come off very easily. There's a lot of discipline to it.
Yeah.
Now, Kshitij, adding to what
Yes.
you said, and to Seema ma'am, I want to ask you this question, and this applies to all the educationalists here on this forum. Ma'am, how important is storytelling in education?
Oh, it is brilliant way of teaching. It's in fact a pedagogy. And for years, I have believed in that. You could teach the most complex of topics, from space and engineering to medicine and what have you, through stories. And that's what I did. These children of mine, they were reading stories not only of the fairies and the magic and all those things which they enjoyed. In fact, Tintin, they had the entire volume of, I think, 25 books probably, Kshitij, you people had. But you had amazing stories which were talking about even complex things like engineering.
Wow. Yeah.
So Kshitij was very small when he used to flip through pages of those engineering books. And it's amazing for me to see now that, when he's working as an engineer with PwC. So I think that from those stories, some seed of knowledge gaining and learning must have gone into his mind. And that is what, over a period of time turned into a professional skill. Of course, a lot of work goes into it. But I think, Shekharji, that storytelling is a wonderful tool to teach everything that you would like to teach in the classroom, and much easier and more interesting.
Super. Ma'am, so I'm going to open this question to the larger audience. You could put your in the message box. The question is, how important is storytelling in leadership for education? I think storytelling is the most important attribute. And there are certain topics ma'am has spoken about in the book. It talks about charisma. And that leads me to my next question. This is for everybody. And you're going to get a prize if you give me the right answer. This is on the message box. And Jiza is going to make sure you get that prize. The question is very simple. What does charisma really mean? What's the real meaning of the word? Ma'am, please don't tell the answer. Seema ji, I know you know the answer. What is the meaning of the word charisma? Anyone, if you could tell me the answer, I've got a prize for you from Konark Publishers. Anybody? You can put the message in the message box. What does charisma mean? Charisma is aura. Preeti ma'am says charisma is aura. Let's see. Okay. We're coming close to it. I think aura is an element of it. Yeah. Magic. Tintin was charismatic, I would say. I don't know whether Captain Haddock was charismatic, but Tintin was charismatic.
Yeah.
Charming, yes. Ma'am, these are words you're using for Seema ji or using words for charisma? Indu ji is saying charm, yes. Come on, we need more messages. Yeah. So charisma actually means, ma'am, do you want to tell them the right answer? It's always nice to hear the principal say it.
It's a magnetic quality. When your followers, they would like to do what you're saying and they believe in you, they buy into your vision. That is charisma, where you don't have to push people, artificially. They just get roped in. They just come into your magnetic field. That is charisma.
Ma'am, you mentioned a lot about charisma in your book. And can you recount a story to the larger audience here in terms of why is charisma so important in terms of leadership in education? Because
it's very important, Shekharji, for the simple reason that a charismatic leader can get much more done with the entire team, because you don't have to pressurize them. You don't have to push them. They will automatically do it and willingly do it. And not only that, they'll go beyond their own limits. They will rediscover themselves, because they will know that for something to do with the leader, for the leader, this is what they ought to do. And that is why they go beyond their own limits which they had imposed on themselves. So that is what I say is charisma, where they don't feel tired, where they feel motivated all through the process, where they feel bought into the vision and the mission as mentioned by the leader. That is what I feel is charismatic leader.
Superb, ma'am. We're getting some very interesting messages from everyone. Poonamji saying, connect with others on a deep level. Ma'am, on that connection note, I'm going to get your friend from Kerala in, Ranjani ji, who's a Malayali just like me. And I want both of you to tell us about that interesting incident which you collaborated with her, ma'am, which was an example of collaboration, teamwork, and I would say also emotional intelligence somewhere, ma'am. Ma'am, tell us, Ranjani ji, first of all, welcome to this book launch. And,
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, tell us about your collaboration with Seema ji. You collaborated with her on something very interesting, which is mentioned in the book. I don't want to talk about it because I've read it, but I want you to tell us what really happened there. And
Well, actually, our friendship dates back to many, many years. We first met in 92. And we worked together also. We were colleagues for many years. Then, of course, that turned into friendship. But the kind of school she mentions, yeah, that is where we, later on when we look back and analyze, you feel there's a kind of stagnation there, a lack of growth. So that is one of the things which motivated us. There has to be a change. We have to move forward in life. I mean, we cannot be stuck in the same time scheme and time frame. We have to move ahead. And you realize that some people have been following the same routine and working day in and day out for almost 25, 30 years without any progress, be it in their academic qualifications or the posts they hold. So you suddenly, at the end of the day, you realize that, is this what? I mean, there is no growth in life. I mean, it's such a sad thing, really. So that is when you realize that that is one of the, I guess, drawbacks of that kind of leadership, that others are not encouraged to move forward.
Yeah.
That's when you realize that these are one of the things you should avoid.
And we both left almost simultaneously.
That's right. We left simultaneously and we joined another institution.
Yeah.
I think we're dramatically different.
Dramatically different. Yes. And that is what I've mentioned, Shekharji, in the book, that the school looks completely time warped, as if you've traveled back in time. And that, with every passing day, you're just stuck up. You're mired into activities and things which are of no consequence, where pin drop silence means a great school.
My God.
Where autocratic leadership is the only way to go about leadership. That is something which I never believed in. So I was the HOD at that time, and I left for a better school. And that was just the beginning of gaining a lot of confidence, a very high self-esteem, and some kind of value that I added to myself only after I left that school. So some schools only, they suck you in without giving you anything in return. They don't motivate you. And that is what I and Ranjini experienced together. And we both left because we weren't satisfied with that kind of project that we were doing or the kind of school that we were working in.
Interesting, ma'am. Ma'am, so that leads me to my next question. Thank you, Ranjani ji, for the input and the perspective.
Yeah, most right.
Ma'am, there's an underlying theme in your book where you talk about culture and you also talk about change. You also believe that, I also believe that teachers can be ambassadors of change. Ma'am, do you have a story to share of how teachers can be ambassadors of change, ma'am? Because you have a wide range of experience, a plethora of experience behind you, Seema ji. So is there something, ma'am, in the book which you've mentioned, which talks about change and how teachers can just usher in the change in the post-COVID era?
So I have in this book launch, I have some wonderful teachers who were there with me almost 2 decades back, and they continue to work with me for many, many years. And I'm seeing them after more than a decade now. We have Hampreet, Anjali, and Jasjeet and Mahesh. These people are there. So they could tell you the kind of culture that we built in from scratch. I was a founding principal of that school, and all the teachers joined later. I mean, they joined after I had joined. But how we all moved to a completely different and a higher way of working, a better platform of working, very tech savvy, when people hadn't started even using computers in school, we had changed our work culture completely. Not only that, Shekharji, we brought in, all of us together, we brought in the element of sustainability in the school. And teachers, they had so much to do, a myriad of activities. They were kind of journals that we were subscribing to, and Jasjit used to review it for everybody in the staff. And we were reading things which were very academic, but made very easy by Jasjit. I had Humphrey, who did a wonderful project, which later on won us a national award from the Center of Science and Environment. And we also got accolades from UNDP for that project. It really went onto the international platform. And then Anjali, who completely changed the way our junior wing students worked. I mean, the kind of work culture she brought, that was amazing. Each one of us, and Mahesh was a senior wing coordinator. So I have with me the junior wing coordinator.
The entire team is there.
So I had a plethora of activities being done. And the school looked like a school on motion leadership. There was a movement. There was something which was happening all the time. As you say that the young people today, they want to go to the happening places. Then let's go there. It's a very happening. It was a happening school. Things were moving at a wonderful speed and bringing in a lot of happiness for everybody. I remember Anjali had started a program which was giving new words to the tiny tots. And lo and behold, suddenly the entire junior wing children, they were, whoever was meeting me was saying, "Ma'am, you're looking ravishing." And suddenly all teachers became ravishing. And that's how we brought in that culture, vocabulary building, and opening the engines to be able to see how motors work. I mean, you just name it and we did it. That was the kind of school. And today when I see the school topping the charts in education world in that city, I feel very happy that we really made it. But obviously, Shekharji, it wasn't my work. It was a work of all these wonderful people.
So, ma'am,
can I change the culture together?
Ma'am, can I re-christen this group as a Magnificent Seven?
Pardon?
Ma'am, ma'am, can I re-christen this group as the Magnificent Seven? Because you mentioned all the names and they're all smiling in acknowledgement. Is smiling in. Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that. But ma'am, I would like to know from Jasjit ji, ma'am. Ma'am, what do you feel about the teamwork and the culture which Seema ji was talking about?
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, everybody. And it's so nice, ma'am. Thank you for bringing all of us together on this platform. It's so nice to see Anjali, Humphrey, Mahesh sir, everybody here, and you too, ma'am, after 2 decades almost. Shekhar, I'll tell you, I joined DPS somewhere in 2005. And from that day till date, we are together with ma'am.
So nice.
And whatever I am today is all because of her. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because when I joined, I had 2 little babies, and you know, that enthusiastic economics teacher who would be a ma'am used to tell me, Justin, you're going to review The Economist. Can you imagine 32 years, 2 babies? And we did it. And I actually thank ma'am because she was the one who, you know, it's now become my habit. I need to read it, ma'am. Thank you. Till date, I subscribe it and I read it, and I make sure all my economics teachers also read. So my school, now I'm heading Doon International, and this is the second school as a founder principal I'm here. And my school is exactly, Seema ma'am, your model school. So there were so many things which ma'am taught us. Now people talk about paperless school. We were somewhere long back, 2 decades back.
2 decades
Now
back.
the school say, yes, ma'am, no polythenes, we never had. No aluminum foils. Ma'am, you remember these were those small things. We actually, yes, we did it. And the children are learning. It's not only academics when we stressed or see, it was co-scholastic also, ethical, spiritual, everything. We had a lot of yoga at that time. Teachers used to sing. Shekhar, we used to have music and dance classes at that time. Every Saturday, it was fun. Usually when you ask teachers to come on a holiday, it's so, you know, depressing. But then we used to be so happy because we used to have such classes.
So Jasjit ji, I have to put you on the spot and ask you, do you have a song for the occasion right now?
Hum saath saath hai?
Please, all of you should sing then.
Yes, this is such a nice, yes. I'm not a good singer, but ma'am, this is the song actually we all should sing. Hum saath saath hai. I don't know the song. I'm so sorry. I'm
No
not a
problem.
music teacher. I can do book
And
reviews.
before you forget, Jasjeet, you remember there was an activity we used to do on Saturdays. The gentlemen teachers, they used to cook for
Yes.
the entire lady staff. Mahesh is here. And we
Yes,
used to have
yes.
such fun. The women will be sitting pretty and the men will be cooking. And, that was the kind of gender parity that we brought 2 decades back in our school. And it was brilliant. That is how we built team. There wasn't a single member of our large team. We were about 18 number. There wasn't a single person who was out of the team. Everybody was together. That was the kind of togetherness we were able to build 2 decades back. And I'm so proud of it to see these people now, many of them heading schools themselves.
Very nice.
That speaks a lot about our work that we had done together, which is mentioned in the book as well.
Absolutely. Ma'am,
And ma'am,
yes.
sorry,
Please,
ma'am,
please.
there's no orientation which I would ever miss without taking your name. So Shekhar, if you've read the book, chapter 5, chapter 7, we actually, we went through all this with ma'am. She's a person who would stand at the reception. Now I realize we used to feel so happy seeing ma'am at the reception. Why the moment ma'am was there, she used to appreciate, she used to give a smile. Above all, we used to be punctual at that time because we knew ma'am was there. Now, ma'am, when I'm in your shoes, I do realize what all you've done. So knowingly or unknowingly, this all, went into our blood, and we've actually become just the small role models.
Yes, change of culture. Absolutely.
I think ma'am, there's also a very strong sense of camaraderie, I believe.
Pardon?
Ma'am, there was also a very strong sense of camaraderie amongst all of you. Like you all
Yes,
enjoyed
yes.
it also, right? It
Very
shows
strong.
that you're able
Very-
to recount it
very
so
true.
successfully. Ma'am, Mr. Mahesh, I have to ask you not about the dishes you made, because now 20 years back we do it. It's now a cooking challenge which people talk about. Sir, but we have to ask you this: what is your perspective on this? On the team getting in together and really enjoying influencing people in their own way.
So it was just like that. We are never feeling that we are working for a school. It was just that we are in a family. And being the eldest member or the strongest member, our principal ma'am, Seema Malik, she was always there to guide us, to support us. And whatever we are today, it's really ma'am's guidance. We don't know, we can't tell you, I'm not having the words to that, how we got shaped in. And without knowingly, we never realized that, okay, this thing is happening with us. Now it's part of our life, it's part of our blood. And it was really, really wonderful experience. Whatever we are today, it is just because of ma'am's leadership. And those days were the lovely days. We are missing those. But definitely the things are that we are trying to bring a change. As you know that when the family grows, so there are certain changes which we need to bring in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. But you didn't tell us about the dish you made.
It's a number of
Wonderful
dishes.
team building exercise we used to do. Yeah.
Still
Thank
that
you.
practice is going on, but it's
Still the
at home
practice is
now.
All right.
I want to ask all of you this question. I'm starting with ma'am. Ma'am, we've spoken about leadership. We've spoken about teamwork. We spoke about camaraderie. We've spoken about change. I think, ma'am, you ushered in a lot of change with the team effectively. But ma'am, how would you define courage?
Courage is to do what is right, even if the entire world is saying it is wrong. But you stand your ground that this is to be done. And there are a number of examples that I've written in the book. For example, in the Salwan School Mayur Vihar, there were many examples. My most wonderful teachers are here. And I stood my ground and I refused to bend down for any kind of pressure tactics or threat which came my way, because I said there are some things which are absolutely non-negotiable and I would not change them. And this is what everybody learned, the students, the teachers, the principal, everyone. And it's not that, Shekharji, that we changed a culture just 2 decades back in another school. This was my last assignment. And it was as gratifying, as satisfying as this was DPS 2 decades back. The same change of culture, and who brought it? The teachers.
Absolutely.
They all came together to work on it. And they're examples. And I'm sure that the teachers who are here with me Preeti Singla, Monica, Preeti Jain, everybody, they will know and they will say that we all changed together. We, as a group, we changed. So that was the kind of group dynamics that we brought in to bring a change in the culture. And it was great success that we could achieve in the Salvan School. I was there only for the last 3 years, but it was a wonderful, wonderful tenure. It's not the length of the time, Shekharji, even if I was in DPS for 15 years, it is not the quantity. It is the quality that matters. My 15 years of DPS to be equivalent to the 3 years which I worked for in Salvan School.
Ma'am, you just reminded me of a quote of Mary Angelou. She had mentioned specifically, Mary Angelou said, it's not about what you do, it's about how you make them feel. And I think somewhere, ma'am, you mentioned that. I think that's where it all boils down from. Judges, you were mentioning something, ma'am.
Yes, Seema ma'am, Shekhar, I'll tell you, there was one phrase ma'am used to say, just do it, Nike shoe.
Nike shoe.
Which I had it at my home and now in my school, and we all had to, it's just do it.
We just do it. We just do it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so now on the just do it note, I've got a game for everybody. So because ma'am reads a lot of biographies and Kshitij knows about it. He's been talking about Tintin and we've been speaking about Enid Blyton. This is a quote, and I want all of you to tell me who has mentioned this quote. And this is applicable to everybody because we spoke about just do it, right? So this person said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Who is this person? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right.
It's a very famous quote.
Yeah, it's a very famous quote. And if I have to give you a clue, the second word is a very popular automobile brand in India.
Poonam Sharma has given the answer.
Yes, Ford.
Poonam Sharma ji said Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Ji, have you got a prize for her?
Definitely, we should have a prize.
Yes, we have a prize for Poonam ji.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all, and thank you very much.
She's a wonderful librarian, and she was my, all the time my friend in reading, because I read a lot even while I was with the Salvan School. Thanks to Poonam, who made it possible for me to get all those wonderful books and then read them and talk about them. So glad to see. I have Monica Chauhan here, and who was economist. So I have Jasjeet from my previous team, and I have Monica Chauhan from the new team. So everybody's here to see. And all of these people, Shekharji, are mentioned in the book. Hampreet is here. And Hampreet was the one who got us the national award from CSE and from United Nations Development Program, where this project was really won a lot of accolades from them also.
Hampreet ma'am, we would love you to also speak in about that entire moment when you won that award. And how did all of you feel when you got it for something which you richly deserved?
Actually, ma'am has always been the motivating hand behind us. When she reposed her faith in my abilities and my team's ability, I would say, because it was not a project that I did single-handedly. I had a team with me. And I remember we all strived very hard, to come up to her expectations. I can very vividly recall certain instances, when we started with the project, there was some kind of, we had to visit the village, talk to people, and we did some surveys also. I remember when we initiated the first survey that we did, we went out, we spoke to about 60 people, came back to the office, and ma'am asked me, just 60, it should have been minimum 100, to talk. So, I mean, she's been the motivating hand, from whom I've learned a lot throughout the years. That small little nudge from her, would propel us in the right direction and we would move miles. That is what I've learned from her. And she's always been the firm support behind me. Always that firm support. We were able to accomplish that task only because of her. Her support, her motivation. She actually rubbed off that motivation on many of us in the school, and we're still carrying it with us. I was talking to ma'am about 10 days back when she called me, and I was reminded of so many things I did write to her. It gets so nostalgic to think about, all those things, how she motivated and how she made us do things. Jasjeet was just now mentioning about, that ma'am mentioned about that, that word in the assembly. I remember ma'am made us all teachers, speak in the assembly. Earlier, it was only used to be a children's assembly. Then she made teachers speak in the assembly. So that was also something very, very new coming from, I mean, I was teaching in some other institute before I joined the school. In fact, in a college before I joined the school. So this kind of thing was very new to me. But I remember when ma'am said, no, you can do it. So we were all there, learned a lot from her, and her work ethics, I still, they are ingrained in me, I believe, somewhere now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear this. So reassuring and so inspiring. And it's such a wonderful
Actually, and I still remember, ma'am, that hug that you gave me when we won the award. I can never forget that. When we came back.
It was a big moment for us, and the entire city was applauding for us. And it was the first award in the state of Punjab to come from the CSE. And UNDP had never before given such appreciation to any project in the country at that time.
Wow.
So the kind of certificates that we got, it was amazing. It was an aha moment for all of us. But we worked for a year on that project every day after school hours. Sometimes Humphrey, we used to come back in late evening, and yet we were never tired because we had a role to do. We had a mission to achieve, and we did that, isn't it?
Actually, and ma'am, we even worked on Sundays. I remember the first meeting was on Sunday. We even worked on Sundays and never regretted, missing out on a holiday. We never ever regretted that because
we were driven.
We were enjoying and we were learning a lot. It was challenging, but we never regretted, coming to school, going to that village on a Sunday. Never, regretted doing that.
Thank you. Ma'am, so, I think it is very victorious. I think that's the moment, right? Because I think these are moments which you cherish a lot. Now, for everybody to get to understand what leadership works for each one of you, I'm going to give you two options. I wanted to choose this or this or this. Okay, I'll give you two options. Choose 1, 2, or 3. All right, very simple. So would you rather want to pick up Seema ji's book, a physical book, or an e-book, if you're given a chance? Physical book or e-book?
Physical.
Okay, physical book. You can put your message in the message box.
Physical.
Okay. Physical. Work from home or work from office or work from school?
School.
Work from school.
Work from school.
Okay. Climbing the mountains or diving into the oceans?
Climbing the mountains.
Climbing the mountains?
Okay.
Altitude or attitude?
Altitude.
Ma'am, you have to also join in, Seema ji. Aircraft landing or aircraft takeoff? Kshitij, you also.
Takeoff.
Aircraft landing or takeoff. Okay. This is very interesting, and this will make you think a lot. The journey, the destination, or the company?
Journey.
I think company.
It will be very interesting. Company for me. Yeah.
Me too, company, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now, to make you hungry, because Mahesh ji spoke about food, gulab jamun or jalebi? Gulab jamun or jalebi?
Gulab jamun. Always gulab jamun.
Leadership is also about flying or turning invisible. What do you think? Flying or turning invisible?
Flying.
And would you want to be the smartest person in the world or the richest person in the world? Smartest or richest?
Smartest,
of course.
And would you want to get an SMS from Seema ji or a handwritten note from Seema ji?
Handwritten note.
Handwritten note. Handwritten note.
I demanded for it. See.
Same here.
I think everybody's got a handwritten note here. And last but not the least, strength of character or sheer magnitude of desperation. Strength of character.
Strength of character.
And because it's raining in Bangalore, where we are from, the smell of petrol or the smell of mud after the first showers?
Mud.
After definitely.
Thank you so much. All of you deserve a clap. All of you are very sporting. Come on. Ma'am, now I have to ask you this, ma'am. Ma'am, you've got, Seema ji, you've got so many years of experience. You have teachers listening into you. Ma'am, but during these years of experience, you must have students who would have come with students or even teachers who would have come up with the most atrocious lies you would have ever heard. Right? I'm sure. So, ma'am, do you have anything? Is there something which comes off your head right now when you speak about somebody who's really given you all the lies in the world and you've seen through that, or you've realized how funny it could sound?
We realized that some students were very good at it. So we could always take their statements with a pinch of salt. But, over a period of time, the students also knew that they can't get away with lies. So then, they all kind of got into the flow of things that this is what they have to do. Once they are caught doing something, then they have to admit that they have done it. So it's just a matter of trust. And the school has a very high trust level. And that is what I was able to see in the teachers and the students. So many times I would never even want to know if your class is a little noisy. It was never a problem. I never asked a teacher why the class is noisy, because I thought that I would rather have a bit noisy class than an absolutely quiet and a dead class. That is something which I never liked. So the students also knew that they could get away with some things, but they couldn't with everything. And Shekharji, one thing I must tell you, which hardly any principal would do, and that was, if there was a class which didn't have a teacher for any reason, A, B, C, D reason, I'll first go to the class and say, why are you sitting in the class? You should be out in this field.
Yes.
Go and play. And they would jump and they would run, and they would all make a line and go, and they would be so happy. Because I thought that every day my students have to go and play for at least a period, if not more. And that was something which came to the students as a big surprise, because they thought the principals only tell them to keep sitting in the class and study all the time, which I didn't. I said, study when it is time to study, and play as if there was no tomorrow. So that was also the students enjoyed with us. But all this lockdown thing, it really dampened our spirits because we could not see the children. It was so wonderful to be there to see those wonderful smiling children all the time.
Nice, ma'am. Kshitij, I have to ask you this question. As ma'am spoke about the experience with students, is there something, I have to ask you this, what's the craziest thing Seema ji has done, according to you? Because I know she's a Virgo, everything is very sharp, on point, systematic, inspirational, and she's the one who's like the wall. So tell me, from your perspective, is there something where you've seen, your mom doing something really crazy, other than obviously writing this book, that is, but anything which, which really comes out and you want to share with the larger group here?
I'll have to think about crazy.
Against you in the future.
Yeah, I'll have to think about crazy. I can't remember many things, but we've done a lot of fun things. And I remember to this day, when I was very young, my mom came home one day with like material like bamboo sticks and paper, and we stayed at home and we actually made kites, because I really enjoyed kites and flying kites, and I still do to this day. It's actually my favorite holiday is 15th August, because you can fly kites. So that was one very fun memory that I had, which was, not what I would have expected, but it stuck with me. And I was very young. I would have been maybe 6. Yeah, so I'll have to think about crazy, but that's one very fun memory.
Very nice. And ma'am, from your perspective, I want to ask Preeti ji also, who's been on this call for quite some time. Ma'am, I want to know your perspective on the book and on leadership, if we can get her attention. She's got a lovely background though. Preeti ji, we need you to tell us, ma'am, what do you think about the book, if you have managed to read the book, and what do you think about leadership, and tell us about your association with Seema ji also. Preeti ji, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for providing me an opportunity to say something about Seema ma'am. Actually, the first and the foremost thing which I would like to tell is that she's a great mentor, and we aspire to be like her, but I think we could never be. Right? She's a great mentor, and thanks Seema ma'am for providing us various kinds of opportunities, as said by Hampreet ma'am also, to talk and to communicate with each other, and which ultimately change our overall personalities for the betterment. We could never be thankful to you for giving us that. But talking about that book, writing a book is not an easy task. Absolutely. But when it comes to Seema ma'am, being an avid reader, being an avid person with such a traveling experience and experiences being which she has gained by this working in great institutions and reputed institutions, having the great educational background. So it was, I think, as a simple task for her, right? But the best thing which I liked about the best part which I liked about was the teacher leadership. As she said, that the teacher empowerment is very, very important to bring about the change in the educational institutions. And the lastly, but which I liked about is the real life examples which she has quoted in her book, and providing us the insights into how much observant she was when she was dealing us with each and every one of us in our school also, and otherwise, not only as a principal, but as a person also, which helped us and to change ourselves for the betterment. Thank you, Seema ma'am, for always being there and motivating us, not only motivating us, but being a big standing wall against whatever we wish to do for the betterment of our students. Thank you, Seema ma'am, once again. We'll always miss you.
Thank you, Preeti ji. Thank you so much. Ma'am, I'm taking on from what Preeti ji spoke about. Ma'am, you also spoken about the spirit of entrepreneurship in your book. You know, you've spoken about leadership, of course, but you also mentioned entrepreneurship, and you also spoken about emotional intelligence, which can be a tool of change. Ma'am, tell us a bit about that, because, you know, ma'am, we are living in a society where we talk only about intelligence quotient. But I believe we are moving on to a world which is moving from intelligence quotient to emotional intelligence to even spiritual quotient, I believe. Ma'am, I would want to know your perspective, because emotional intelligence, I think, is the number one quality every leader should have. And I believe in that. I'm sure everybody here agrees to that. Seema ji, I want your perspective on that.
Empathy is so important. To understand what the other person is thinking or is talking about. You remember, Shekhar ji, when you read the book and you discussed it with me about this example that I've written about my daughter.
Yes.
And I have often discussed it in the school also with my teachers. And my daughter is here, and I remember how difficult it was for me to see my daughter as one of those truant students who were missing the class, bunking, as they say. I felt very bad about it. Imagine a person who's leading 1,200 students of that particular block, which was a middle school block, 1,200 or 1,500 students. And there the teachers come and say, oh my God, your daughter is there. And I was aghast. And there came the role of emotional intelligence. What do you do? Is my child any different from those 1,500 children who I was leading? Is she any different? She might be bright, but then is she more preferred as compared to the others? So we as the mother and daughter, as a family, we all went through it. But I stuck to my ethics and I stuck to my beliefs. And so did my daughter, who stood up for me, and she never tried to wriggle out of the situation. And she was one of those students. Even the principal was surprised when he found that the senior coordinator has brought her daughter to him. I said, yes, this is a situation. I mean, she is no different. So I think Mugdha can talk more about it, because I really felt at that time it was a real tightrope walk for me, and it was a test of my emotional intelligence and for my daughter.
Absolutely. Mugdha ji, is she? Can you come on video? You don't mind? This is your way of coming back to your mom.
Hi. Actually, sorry about that. Actually, I'm on the road, so I'm not sure the video would be appropriate. But thank you so much for bringing me in. A couple of things I want to say. First of all, I'm pleading not guilty to being a truant because I was being led astray by my fellow students. So please give me a pass on that. Secondly, I can attest to my mom's courage of her convictions, because she's always been like that. I think I remember being very young and just having someone to look up to like her in terms of being a leader, being an educator, and having that displayed not just when you're young, but also when you're a teenager, for example, when you're very impressionable, when you have that kind of role model, when you have that kind of a person who you know will do the right thing no matter what, and having the courage of your convictions is really, really important to me now. And I think I got it from her. So yeah, I mean, that particular example does stand out in my mind as well, because I wasn't broken up about it, but then it was the right thing to do. I think looking back on it, it's the right thing to do. It's what you're supposed to do, because in the school you're supposed to be a leader, and it's not just me. There are students, there are teachers, there's the management who's looking up to you for doing the right thing, and I think she did that. So and I'm so happy to hear everybody who's been talking about my mom, in glowing terms, and kudos to them. I think without them also, my mom couldn't have done what she has and achieved what she has in life. Absolutely. I think this is where she's supposed to be right now. I think this all of her life has been culminating into this one sort of book, and I mean, this is the first of many, but I do feel that this is something that she was probably born to do, very honestly. And from a very personal perspective, I would say, and as my brother Kshitij also mentioned, that being young and having somebody who pushed you to learn new things, and sort of brought you into the fold of education and learning, and language and arts and culture and what have you. It's what we are today. It's because of her, because of both of our parents. And this is a sort of leadership we expect from everybody, our teachers especially, because yes, learning happens in schools, but learning happens in homes. It's sort of a 50-50, I would say, balance. And so glad that my mom made me read all of those books, because and especially I would like to tell everybody that right now I am a climate change consultant, and I wouldn't have that interest in the world, the environment, and there have been a few mentions of being the sustainability and environment leader that she is also in schools. I wouldn't have had that that sort of drive to learn and to know about these things if it wasn't for her, even from a very, very young age. So I'm so happy that this has come together like it has. And, I would like to echo each and every sentiment that has been showered upon my mom, and nobody better to get it than her. Thank you.
Super. Mugdha, I must tell you, there's one way by which you can get back to your mom for what she's done to you so many years back.
Sure. What's that?
That's by coming late on a Zoom call. No,
sorry.
But by just appearing late on a Zoom call, you tell her 8:30, you come by 8:40, and then you see your mom gets angry, and you say, you know what, you did this 20 years back to me, making me stand with my class. But trust me on this, we've all made mistakes. I think leadership is all about learning from your failures, and
definitely, I think it's also learning from them, because
absolutely.
If you don't learn from your mistakes and try to do things better, I mean, life's a journey, right? We all attested to that fact. So I mean, you keep learning as you go along, and that's testament to my mom as well, and to me and my brother, because we strive to learn. That's what we want to do, and learning and knowledge is so important to in our lives. And I think Kshitij would agree on that. It's literally the foundation. If you want to do something, learn about it, and then you're better at it.
Absolutely. And Mugdha, I must tell you this, because I do a lot of theater. Yours is like the voice of God. We don't see your video, but we can hear your booming voice. And
well, I don't know about that, Shekhar, but thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Mugdha. And Kshitij, I have to tell you this. I was just looking at your backdrop. That's a Tintin backdrop, is it? On your right-hand side?
No, on this one? Well, this is actually a poster. I don't know if I can see it. It's by Gustav Klimt. Actually, my girlfriend bought it, actually, so it's from her.
All right. I was thinking of Tintin because we mentioned Tintin in the morning. And ma'am, I have to ask you this question, Seema ji. Ma'am, if you were a superhero or a superheroine, who would you be? Because now, a lot of movies are only made on this concept. And ma'am, you seem to have all the attributes. So your team testifies to it, and your children also testify to it. So tell us, ma'am.
I have never thought about that, but I can tell you that there's one superhero I'm very fond of, and that is William Shatner, the Star Trek hero.
And he was also, incidentally, he went to outer space too.
He also went out to space. I don't know when I'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that when I see Star Trek, I'm absolutely mesmerized by what he could do. And he's an amazing leader.
Absolutely.
How he leads and what kind of decisions he takes. It's brilliant. And he's just the right balance of EQ and IQ, which the other people in his team aren't. So he's a perfect balance of EQ and IQ. That is what I like about William Shatner.
And his favorite line would be, "May the power be with you."
May the power be with you. Yeah.
That's so interesting. We started with Tintin, we're moving on to William Shatner. And that's what I think leadership is all about. Someday leadership also is all about a spirit of adventure. And I think, ma'am, from what I've heard from, your colleagues and your team, there is always a spirit of adventure which is there in all of us, right? Because we're all on this journey. And like you said, it's not the journey, the destination, but also the company, which is important.
So one of my team members is here, Monica Chauhan. And even Monica is a wonderful example of putting IQ and EQ together. And she can say herself that, how much great work we were able to do together and how much we complemented each other. From each other's strengths, we did a lot of work. So, with Monica, with Poonam, with Preeti, I was able to create things which was possible only because they contributed wholeheartedly into that project. I think Monica would like to tell the rest of the group about what kind of work we were able to achieve together.
Absolutely. Monica ji.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, your voice is not...
Ma'am, the internet is not as fast as us, I'm thinking.
Clarity.
So if the team is good, they should be telling what Monica is telling.
So much to tell. I'll start with MUN. Ma'am, am I audible now?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yes.
Probably.
The video, yeah, could be.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So I'll start with MUNs. The first program that I did with ma'am was MUN, and we had a newsletter, and ma'am told us that probably we should have a name for the newsletter, and we could not think of anything. And ma'am came up with Salwan Communique, and we're still continuing with the name, and we hope to continue with the name of Salwan Communique. It comes as, my children, every year, the organizing committee changes, and the children every year they tell me that, how did you come across this name? And I tell them the complete story, that how we came across this name. We've learned so many things from her, and every time she used to come up with something, and I was like, oh God, now I'll have to do this. But after we had done that project, or after we had completed that particular thing, it was able to complete this. Called me up, and I did something, and I was like, oh God, I'll have to read this complete thing. I have to read it completely. And I thought, oh God, I hope she forgets about it. I was seriously hoping that my principal, knowing Miss Seema Malik, I was seriously hoping that she forgets about the project. Imagine. And I thought, oh God, I think she's forgotten. Wow, that's so nice. She's forgotten. I was still reading, but I was praying, oh God, oh Lord, she forgets about this. But then after a few days, probably around the deadline that I gave her, she told me she wanted to meet me. She writes emails, and she's very particular
I'm revealing all your secrets. I told you, ma'am, right at the beginning. All your secrets will be revealed. I think we lost her. But I think we got a gist of what she was telling. I think it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Actually, I would like to pitch in. Actually, you were talking about the charisma, and the Monica was also talking about that only. It is her charisma that you said that it's a magnetic. Ma'am said it's a magnetic quality. So that is because of her magnetic quality. We were never forced to do anything. Actually, so we were just pushed and motivated to do a certain thing, and we just went out with the flow. Actually, so that is why was the basis and the beauty of learning under her guidance, and that is the main strength of her, and we all learned a lot from her. And this is what I think Monica wanted to share about.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about motivation. How much you believe in what the leader wants to get done with the entire team together.
So, ma'am, you had the ability to motivate all of us to do what we wanted to do, and actually, you also wanted us to get the things done. So, it's a way how you led the group and led all of us that we were able to do what you wanted, but without being forced to do that. That is the beauty, and we all learned a lot in the whole process. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I think this book is a biopic for you.
It's just the first.
Yeah,
it's just the first, and there'll be many more which will follow, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we'll be waiting for that, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm delighted that the education department, the Delhi government, has also appreciated the work, and the education minister also said that he would like me to come on board for consultation in the field of IB curriculum. So I'm very delighted that the book has found people who have appreciated it, and there are reasons for me to be satisfied with my work.
Absolutely, ma'am. But please don't forget us when you go into that department, education department. हम भी हैं Qatar में.
Ma'am, मैं भी.
Ma'am, ma'am, you're getting a lot of messages on the chat box. Shobha ji says she's an influencer, she's a visionary. She knew how to get the right things done at the right time with the right guidance. Wonder Woman. Poonam ji says, ma'am gave us a lot of freedom to do work. Ma'am, we're getting a lot of messages for you. And Shobha ji is also here on the call. Shobha ji, you want to add something more about the book and leadership and how it all correlates to Seema ji?
Really want to talk about ma'am. See, a true leader is who leave the legacy. So it's just that ma'am did not keep her wisdom, did not keep her knowledge and skills to herself. In fact, she trained us, she imparted those skills into us, and she created a line of leaders. Today, ma'am is not there. But whatever we have learned from her, it's ingrained in us, and it is guiding us through in our personal life as well as in our professional life. So we are growing every single day. And thanks to ma'am for all her trainings, for all her guidance. And one more thing I would like to tell, that she trusted her team like anything. If she has entrusted you for some work, then, every day she is not going to take status of it. She has that faith in you that you have the capability to do it. So she knew what are the strengths and weaknesses of each and every person, and she would give the work accordingly. So thanks very much, ma'am. It is helping us a lot to grow in life.
Yeah, I will even add on one more thing. The best part, like for any small work, we were getting the appreciation on the SPS coordination group. Like anything we are doing, she was trusting us for any single thing, and small things we were doing with the small children, especially in primary, we used to give the feedback every day to ma'am. And for small things, always we were appreciated. That appreciation always motivated us, and the training sessions ma'am organized for us, it was really a wonder, which are really helping us a lot. Ma'am, we will always miss your charming smile and radiant personality. We miss on the reception when all the small primary children used to come and meet you. They always wanted to wish you, and all the day were so fresh because they always used to tell me, ma'am always says we are the flowers.
And one day I asked in the assembly how many flowers we had.
They are
1,700 flowers we have.
Yeah.
That was amazing, Renu. Yes.
Yeah. It was really a pleasure working with you. You really maintained a culture, a true leader who really sets a future pathway of any institution. And that legacy is always there. We will prevail the culture.
Thanks so much, Renu. I miss the kind of elegance that we had in the school. What wonderful time we had.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much.
And we also got people who've joined in from Bangalore. We've got Vali ma'am, who's been there right in the beginning. Ma'am, we would love you to unmute yourself, ma'am. And
Shekhar, can I just continue? I'm sorry, I lost it. Coming to this, I was actually expecting ma'am to forget it. Okay, so but naturally she did not, which I was also expecting that she will not never forget it. She called me and she wanted me to tell her that how much had I read, and I was true. I told her I've only read half of it. She again told me that I'll give you some more time. You read it completely and then you come back to me. I read it completely. Within 15 days, I came back. I told her what I planned to do. We made a plan. We actually created a disaster management manual for the Salwan Education Trust, the complete trust. We planned lesson plans, we made worksheets, we made assessment sheets for classes 4 to 9. She had a plan of teaching disaster management because it was, disasters are something which can happen anytime. COVID is a disaster. And we actually, she decided with a team, and the team was so varied. I was not expecting results, but the results came. The people started working, and let me also tell you, every time something went across to her, she used to read it. She used to read every single line of it, correcting the grammatical errors, correcting things over there, writing that this particular sentence is repeated. It was repeated in the previous worksheet. It was repeated in the previous plan. And when the complete thing came out, it was wonderful. It was like amazing. We never expected. She gave us so many opportunities, not only me, but according to people's capabilities, she's given opportunities to each and every person. We had a seminar, webinars on, we had a webinar on budget session. Okay. Now this budget session webinar, we were hosting, I was the modulator, and there were people who we had arranged, and more than the people who were supposed to be the speaker, it was my principal who knew the most about the budget. She is one person who is always well-read, one of the most well-read people that I know. She reads and she reads and she reads and she reads. She reads a lot and she knows things. And if she does not know things, she'll always be curious to know about it. And not only this, she trusts her team. Just like Shobha ma'am said while I was joining, she trusts people. Which is extremely important. It goes on to you as a team. You know that she trusts you. And that trust is like, you can feel the burden of the trust. And then you want to also prove to the other people. So no, she trusts me. So I'll prove it to her that I am someone who's worthy of trust, who can be trusted, and I'll prove it to her. And really, I never thought that across. I've been teaching for almost 18 years now, but in that 3 years that I've worked with Seema ma'am, I've learned so much. My family knows that I've learned so much. We have worked under pressure at times, but we have learned. It has been a learning time. My lifetime. And she would not only talk about you. She would talk about your family. She also, I have a young daughter. She used to tell me that, Monica, this is the right time. You have to start imbibing reading habits onto your child also. It is not only her child that she's thinking about, or you as a team member. She's also thinking about your family. And that is how she is. She's one of the most amazing leaders that I've met.
Super.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Ma'am, ma'am, in a few minutes more, I think we might come to the end of the session, but I can tell you this session is very interesting. Ma'am, but before we do that, ma'am, there are certain words you've used in this book, which obviously find a place. And ma'am, I want you to tell me what you mean by each word. Just give me one word for it. When you say the word persistent, what does it mean for you?
Persistent? Myself?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm persistent.
Oh, yeah, persistent. Okay, resilient.
Teachers.
Okay. Optimistic.
The entire school.
Psychophony. Or
we never had any sycophancy in the school.
Okay. Ma'am, trust. That's an overriding theme everywhere, I guess. Trust.
So when I say trust, Salvan Education Trust.
Culture.
What we were able to achieve in the 3 years.
Change.
Change in discipline in the school.
Okay. Innovation.
Science. Science comes to me. My science department was a strong department and an amazing department.
Ma'am, democracy.
Salvan Public School, Mayur Vihar.
Coaching.
I did a lot of coaching myself.
Mentoring.
My many teachers, HODs in particular.
Vision.
Collective.
Nuance.
Individual.
Okay. And last but not the least, ma'am, gratitude.
Gratitude. We had to do it every day.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, it's been a pleasure talking to you, pleasure listening to you, pleasure listening to you, all your colleagues and your team and everyone around it. We've also got ma'am who's joining from Bangalore. Ms. Wali is here. Ma'am, I would like you to unmute yourself, ma'am, and tell us what do you feel about this launch and this discussion till now.
So, good evening, everyone. I remember one thing that ma'am wanted to make the school no plastic zone in our school, Salvan Public School. And, she would stand on the stage and in the morning, early in the morning at 8 a.m. and she would catch hold of the small children who used to bring polythenes with water bottles, etc. And she would catch hold of the children. And day after day, the children realized ma'am is not going to leave them, and they would hide their hands with the polythenes at the back. Ma'am would take the polythene, take out the things, put them into a paper, bag, hand it over to them and take the polythenes. So that is how, she made the school no plastic zone within no time. And this percolated not only to the students, it also percolated to the staff, everybody. Plastic was completely gone out of the school. It vanished completely. So that is the leadership, I would say. And the whole school became plastic free zone. And not only that, but from the canteens, everywhere, the plastic vanished completely from our school. So that sort of leadership, we all look forward to.
Ma'am has literally seen the future.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. And ma'am, before we, I think we've come to the last 5 minutes. Jiza, you want to play the video of the students?
Yes. There were some issues with the video, before we could not play it. I'm just sharing it.
Because we've heard from the teachers, let's hear it from the students too.
Yeah, just one second.
I think you need volume.
Volume, just one second.
It's just there. You don't mute it, yeah. You can start again. I think you need volume.
Volume, just one second.
It's just there. You don't mute it, yeah. You can start again. I think so. Just to give a gist to everybody, what he's really talking about is book. And I think how I'm also spoke about the habit of reading, which is so important. And I think it's so nice to see these videos which are coming in. Geez, I think the videos cannot catch up with our energy.
I think we could hear the sound earlier, and now we can only see the picture.
Picture. It's either sound or picture. That's fine. I would like to also invite Ranjana Narayanan, the commissioning editor of Konark. Is Ranjana ji also, I think she's joined us.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
I just ask Sushil to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Yes, you can continue now. Yeah. Ranjana ma'am, can you please?
Yeah, can you hear?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's been a very nice session. We really enjoyed everybody, and I want to thank everybody for joining this session. And thank you, Ms. Seema Malik and Mrs. Shekhar Vijayan, for such an interesting conversation. Everybody joined in and shared their experiences. It is really, really interesting. And this book, I think we need more such books. And I think Seema Malik, ma'am, really, I mean, it is good that Ms. Seema Malik came out with such a book. I think there is need for many more such books and many more such sessions in the future. And I want to also thank Ms. Seema Malik's children for joining us, taking out time, and everybody for sharing their experiences. And so this has really been a very nice evening and really interesting. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being there. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'll just conclude one line by saying Seema Malik ma'am was a leader who created many leaders. So a leader who creates leader is a great leader. Thank you.
Yeah. So
and on that note, I would like all of you to pick up this book, please. It's very important to go ahead and pick up this book and walk the talk like we all do. And,
and many more leaders in the future.
Many more leaders. Seema ji, if you have the book, ma'am, could you also take out your book, ma'am?
Not here on the table right now.
Okay. So yeah, this is the book. We can take a picture with this.
This is the book. Yeah. Everybody.
If Sushil can take a snapshot, or anyone else can take a snapshot.
No. Yeah.
This is like a mannequin challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. Once again, Seema ji, thank you so much, ma'am. It was wonderful interacting with you, with your team, with your children. Kshitij, thank you for being so frank. And Mugdha, thank you for just being the way you are. I think it's amazing. And ma'am, you're an inspiration for all of us. Ma'am, I also believe teachers are not just teachers. I think they're influencers. And I do a lot of work with kids. I believe kids nowadays are very smart. I think what we all need to develop is the art of listening more than the art of talking. So I think that's one skill which is going to be really important for the future. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a pleasure to collaborate with you on your book launch.
All my wonderful members and everybody who has joined. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you all can tell the truth. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.